Okay, continuing on in 3-4, we're going to find polynomials with given zeros. I'll be honest with you, these problems are quite long and maybe one of the most tedious things you do in this chapter. So here we go. We're going to find polynomial functions with given zeros. So the question says find f of x, so a function, with zeros -2, 2, and I. It is a fourth degree polynomial such that f of 3 equals -150. Now if it's a fourth degree polynomial, it should have 4 zeros. And in fact it does, because if I is a zero, so is -I. Because they are found by taking a square root, and anytime you take a square root, you get both positive and negative. So the first thing I'm going to do is take my zeros and set them up as factors. So if -2 is a 0, x plus 2 is the factor. If 2 is a 0, x minus 2 is a factor. X minus I and x plus I. So those are my factors, because if this is a 0, what they're really saying is x equals -2. So I move that across the equal sign, and that's where the x plus 2 comes from, right? If I take this and move it over here, it becomes x plus 2. So I've just written these out as factors. Now the next thing I need to do is multiply out this polynomial. So the first thing, the easiest thing to do is probably to go ahead and start with my i's, and we'll just FOIL those out. They are conjugates of each other. Which, remember, if you have conjugates, you don't have to FOIL. You can just F and L. So x times x is x squared. Negative I times positive I is -I squared. Which, if you remember, I squared is really -1. So I actually have x squared minus -1. Or x squared plus 1. So that's what I get when I FOIL these out. So I'm done with those two. So I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing here. And again, I have conjugates. So f and L will give me x squared minus 4, which makes sense. That's the difference of two squares that factors like this. So I'm done with those. So now I have this. And we will go ahead and FOIL out these two binomials. So x squared times x squared is x to the 4th. X squared times 1 is plus x squared. Minus 4x squared minus 4. So I have x to the 4th minus 3x squared minus 4. Now that is what a general f of x with those zeros would look like. But this is not a general f of x, because they gave me this little tag up here. F of 3 equals -150. So I know what a specific polynomial this should be. My f of x here, I have to set this up so that it equals 150. So here's how you do that. I'm going to take my function, put it in parentheses, and put an a value in front of it. Now I need this to equal 150 if x is 3. So I'm going to write a times 3 to the 4th minus 3 squared minus 4. And that should equal -150. You see what I'm doing? I'm taking the x value they gave me of 3, and I'm plugging it into my equation. What I'm trying to find here is what my coefficient should be. So now I can just calculate this. So I get 81 minus 27 minus 4. So I get a equals, this all calculates to 50. So I get 50a equals -150. I'm going to divide both sides by 50. So a equals -3. So now I know what my lead coefficient should be. So I'm going to go back to right here, and I'm going to plug in that -3. -3 is going to go right here. So -3 times a to the 4th minus 3x squared minus 4. And now you just distribute that through. So I get -3a to the 4th plus 9x squared plus 12. That is my final f of x. Now that problem didn't actually seem all that bad, but they do get a little longer. So let's try one that might show up on your homework assignment, because they definitely get a little longer in the homework. So let's try find f of x if n equals 4, and I'll explain that part in just a minute. My zeros are going to be -2, 5, and 3 plus 2i. And then they're going to tell me f of 1 equals -96. Okay, so again, I've got one of these problems. Now this time they worded it a little differently, and they said this, n equals 4. This is the degree of the final answer. It is not used in calculating. It is just to tell me that this is going to be x to the 4th when I'm done. All right, so here are my zeros. It's a degree of 4, so I should have 4 zeros, and I've been given 3. But again, anytime you have an I, the negative is true also, but this happens to be a binomial, so it's going to be the conjugate of this. So we need to write them down as factors. So I'm going to write down, this one would be x plus 2. This would be x minus 5. Now here's where this gets a little crazy. I want you to watch this. This is x equals 3 plus 2i. If I move both of those things over, it becomes x minus 3 minus 2i. Now remember, if this is a factor, or a 0, so is x equals 3 minus 2i. If I move those over, I get x minus 3 plus 2i. So there are my 4 factors. Now this one is definitely easier to do the i's first. It's going to get a little long and crazy, but in the end, it comes out okay. Now, we can't exactly FOIL these because they're not binomials. So you're going to multiply by distributive properties. So x times x is x squared. X times -3 is minus 3x. And x times 2i is positive 2xi. All right, I'm a third of the way there. Let me switch colors so we can kind of see what's going on. Now I'm going to do the -3. It gives me minus 3x plus 9 minus 6i. Change colors again so I won't lose my place. Now I'm going to do -2xi plus 6i minus 4i squared. Now, if you did everything right, you should have a lot of things that cancel. So let's see here. I have x squared, nothing cancels with that, minus 3x minus 3x, so that's going to be minus 6x, so I've used those, plus 2xi minus 2xi, so that cancels out, minus 6i plus 6i, so that should cancel. So I have plus 9 minus 4i squared. Now remember what I squared is. That's -1. So I'm going to get x squared minus 6x plus 9 minus 4 times -1. I'm writing out every step. I know you could do this in your head, but some of these steps in your head. But I just want you to follow what's going on. So that makes this plus 9 plus 4. So I end up with x squared minus 6x plus 13. Now that was just these two pieces. Let's go ahead and do my other two pieces, x plus 2, x minus 5. So I'll do those over here. X plus 2, x minus 5. These are a little easier to FOIL out. X squared minus 5x plus 2x minus 10. So x squared minus 3x minus 10. All right, so now I have two trinomials right here. I'm going to have to combine those two things. So let's do that now by distributive property again. So x squared minus 6x plus 13 times x squared minus 3x minus 10. Now you're going to distribute x to the fourth minus 3x squared minus 10. Oh, that'd be 3x to the third. Minus 10x squared. Minus 6x to the third. Plus 18x squared. Plus 60x. Let me go on to the next line because I'm running out of room. Plus 13x squared. Minus 39x. Minus 139. No, I told you these could get kind of long and crazy. Now we do have some like terms we can combine here, so let's do that. Let's see, I don't have any other x to the fourth, so I'll write it down. But I have minus 3x to the third, minus 6x to the third, so negative 9x to the third, so those are done. My x squareds, look like that's good. Oh, I've got another one. So let's see. Looks like I've got, that's 3, 21 x squared, if we did it right. And then my x's, looks like that ends up plus 21x minus 130. All right, so now I have this long polynomial, but I still have to use this information. So I'm going to plug that in with that a value in front. So here we go. A, x to the fourth minus 9x to the third plus 21x squared plus 21x. They want it to equal negative 96 if I plug in 1 for my x value. So now I'm going to do that part in my calculator. Make it a little easier on myself. So I'm going to plug in 1 to the fourth minus 9 times 1 to the third plus 21 times 1 squared minus 130. That gives me negative 117. A equals negative 96. I sure hope this comes out. Negative 117. Doesn't look like it's going to. Negative 96 divided by negative 117. Oof. 32/39. So that, my A value is 32/39. Now, it's very possible I did something wrong, but that just shows you how hard these are. Now that has got to be put back in for this A value and distributed through. So I do 32/39, and you multiply it through. And it's going to be on all the coefficients and whole numbers, so you would multiply it through. Now occasionally they do end up like the A value does end up a fraction, usually not quite that bad, which lets me think I probably made a mistake. But that's basically how you do it. Try not to make a mistake.